Hey guys, hope you're doing good and welcome back to the Watch Design Academy YouTube channel. If you guys have ever wondered what tools, what software a watch designer actually uses when he designs watches for himself or his clients or for his own brand, I'll be showing you that today. My name is Dominic Kalaja and I've been designing watches for over 6 years now, almost 7 years, and I am the founder of watchdesignstudio.com and watchdesignacademy.com. So Watch Design Studio is a small company and we design watches for people that want to start their own watch brand and for micro brands that are looking to expand their collections with new models. We also do some CGI content, renders, video animations and stuff like that. And Watch Design Academy is the school that I started for anybody that wants to learn how to design their own watch from scratch and how to actually design a watch that is able to be produced later on. And we also give you manufacturer contacts and stuff like that. I recommend this school for anybody that's looking to start their own watch brand or become a full professional watch designer. So yeah, that is a little bit about me, and now let's go right into the video. So in a couple of videos before, I've mentioned the design process and the steps of the design process. So first is 2D digital drafting, then we go to the 3D engineering, CAD/CAM design and 3D modeling basically. Then we go into rendering, so where we actually apply all the materials, colors and texture to the actual watch, so we know how it will look in real life when it's produced. And then if it's all good, we go ahead and export all the 3D files for the manufacturer. We produce technical drawings. That is the watch design process described in shortly. For phase one or step one or stage one, whatever you want to call it, for sketching, basically when I started my career as a watch designer, I used to do a lot of sketching by hand. I've realized that is really not necessary, and that is one thing and one misconception about watch designing, that everything is at the beginning done on paper. But currently I do everything on the computer. So I do the sketching with SolidWorks and Photoshop, and instead of paper and instead of notebooks and pencils and basically all the tools that are actually physical, I use SolidWorks and I use Photoshop. With SolidWorks, I outline a few dimensions and then I transfer over the sketch into the Photoshop, and in Photoshop I actually create a full 2D drawing, and the purpose of that drawing is just so I can visualize how the product should be looking later on in the final stages. And with that 2D digital draft, we have a reference of all the components and how we need to design them in the second stage, which is the 3D modeling process. And if you guys want some alternatives, what you can use instead of Photoshop, you can actually design everything by hand on paper if you know how to draw really nicely, but that's not something you really need. And instead of Photoshop, you can also use Adobe Illustrator. I've tried using Adobe Illustrator and it is a more professional software to use, but it's also a little bit more complicated than Photoshop in my opinion. And the results are always the same, so yeah, I just prefer Photoshop myself. Then for the second step of the design, which is actually the 3D modeling and rendering process, in that process we actually design all the components separately in 3D, where we can actually rotate them around in the software, view them from all the angles. So basically we designed every component in 3D. And then when all of the components of the watch are functional and designed, we assemble them into the complete and final watch in the actual 3D software. So when that's completely assembled together, that means the actual 3D design is done and we can go ahead and make a few changes here and there. But that's basically it when it comes to 3D modeling. And for that specific step of the design process, I use SolidWorks. SolidWorks is basically the most useful 3D tool, 3D software, CAD/CAM software for product design. That is what I would recommend anybody that's starting their watch design journey. There are some alternatives that you can use. You can also use Fusion 360. You can also use Rhino. You can also use CATIA. I prefer SolidWorks because it's very easy, and then you can easily manipulate the 3D model and export into technical drawings and export into all the other step files, STL files that the manufacturers would actually need. So yeah, then when we have a finished and fully assembled 3D model of the watch, we go into the rendering software, which is called KeyShot. I use KeyShot 12 for rendering purposes, and basically, as I've already told you, I use renderings for visualizing the actual watch and making realistic images of how the watch would actually look like when it's finished. So whenever I design watches either for myself or for clients of mine, I always send them preview renderings of the actual watch so they can see what finishes we have, what colors we have, what material do we have on the dial, how the caseback is brushed or polished, what kind of strap material there is, and stuff like that. Basically just so you can visualize the complete watch and how it will look when it's produced. And also those renderings help a lot whenever you send the watch into production, along with all the technical drawings and CAD/CAM files and step files and everything else. You also need to provide final renderings or like high resolution images of your watch created in KeyShot, which is what I use. That way the manufacturers really know and really see how the watch is supposed to look like. That way, if they need to make some changes on the fly, it's a lot easier for them. I use KeyShot. It's very easy for me to use that, and I know how to use it very well. You can also use Blender for that. You can also use Cinema 4D or any sort of similar software that is basically just used for rendering. And yeah, those are the three softwares that I use throughout the complete design process. Then again, after we've done the renderings, we go back into SolidWorks. I go back into SolidWorks and create technical drawings and export the main files into multiple different 3D exports like STEP, STL, or FBX, or whatever you have, just so whichever manufacturer the clients decide to use to produce their watch, they can open up the files because there is multiple different exports. So yeah, that is basically the design process and the softwares and tools that I use. And hopefully this video has been very helpful for anybody that's looking to design their own watch. If you want to learn and design watches for yourself and don't want to pay designers anymore, or if you're looking to become a watch designer yourself and basically have that as your career, then you can check out watchdesignacademy.com. And if none of that interests you and you just want to outsource the design work to someone else, you can check out watchdesignstudio.com and I will gladly help you out. So yeah, that's been all, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care and ciao.